Good morning, everyone. I'm pleased to be a part of the 2021 virtual edition of the Foro Mascotas, and I will be speaking about a new generation of yeast derivatives to be supplemented to your beloved pets in order to improve their health and well-being. The larger trends of pet food continue to be premiumization and humanization, and it translates into pet food becoming increasingly specialized. Pet manufacturers, on the other side, they are catering to consumers' desires. You can see on the right side that most of the family see at their pet, whatever they are, dog and cat, as family members. So you see there are numbers from Europe, Germany, Poland, France, but I believe, truly believe that those numbers can be applied globally. More than 50-60% of pet owners, they feel their dogs and their cats to be as their kids, so family members. So functional ingredients, so those ingredients that can be added to the pet food to make it more specialized, are really more and more trendy year after year. There is a more or less a 70% of pet parents, pet owners, that they really feel that dog and cat foods are effective for preventive health care. But even more, around 90% of pet owners, they trust that special nutrition formulation are beneficial for pets with specific health concern. What does it mean? It means that pet parents are conscious of the importance of proper nutrition. It's finally already some years now that pet parents understand how nutrition is important for the overall health and well-being of their pets. And it offers at a great opportunity to the pet industry, because of course pet parents are looking for functional pet food whenever they go choosing the pet food for their dog and for their cat. And for pet manufacturer, launching and putting on shelf a functional pet food means that they need functional claims, and for having functional claims, what are needed are functional ingredients. But what are the main characteristics that functional ingredients has to match? For sure, it needs to be research based. It means that there is the need of having research, R&D behind an ingredient. It needs also to be innovative and differentiating, because whenever a pet manufacturer is including it in his functional pet food, he needs, as we said, functional claims to be different, to be somehow innovative, and differentiating himself from other competitors. And we know that the players in the pet industry are really a lot. And linked to that, the functional ingredients need to enable trendy claims that needs to be trendy, of course, but also proven. So we need to give data to our customers to show that the functional ingredient they are using, they are really indeed beneficial for the animal. Last but not least, the ingredient has to be versatile and stable. Versatile because we know in the pet industry the production process used are quite harsh and complex production process. Let's think about extrusion. There is high temperature, there is pressure. So we need an ingredient that pass through extrusion or wet production process, staying stable during the process. But when I say stable, I mean also stable overall the shelf life. And in the pet industry, whenever we talk about shelf life, we know that we are thinking about 18 to 24 months. So we need a good compromise among all these characteristics, being innovative, different, enabling trendy claims, but also being applicable in most of the production process used in the industry. So now what I would like to show you is that yeast derivatives products
even if they are quite common and already widely used ingredients, they can still be novel functional ingredients. And I will try to reply to the question, are those research-based, innovative, differentiating? Are they able to really enable trendy, proven claims? Are they versatile? So let's see if these derivatives products have all these characteristics. Let's take a look together at it. Don't be scared about this big table, can be confusing, but it's an easy one. I'm not gonna go through all the details, but it's just to show you how many yeast derivatives product are used in animal nutrition. You can find in the market whole cell yeast, so it means that the whole cell of the yeast is used as live, as inactivated one, or can be also inactivated but enriched in nutrients. On the other side, you can also find yeast fractions, extracts, or cell wall products. So you can use either the external layer of the cell wall of the yeast, or you can use the inner, let's say the inner components of the yeast cell. And it's around yeast fraction that I'm going to focus in the next slide. Within the yeast fraction, we still have several ingredients that can be used, as I said, coming from the inner, like the extract, or coming from the outside. And I want just to bring and focus a bit the attention on the cell wall products. Why? Because those are the main, most common used yeast derivatives product in animal nutrition. And why it happens? Well, the cell wall products, as we said, they are ingredients coming from the external, from the layer of of the cell wall, and they're used for two main reasons. First of all, because they are rich in moss, mannanoligosaccharides, which can influence the pathogen binding, so the effect of the yeast derivatives product. So are the moss responsible of the pathogen binding effect. On the other side, you have the beta-glucans content, which is quite high in the cell wall product, and it has the role of immunostimulation. So beta-glucans are able to be recognized by the receptor in the gut and to activate an immune response. Those are the two main reasons why pet manufacturers are adding moss and beta-glucans and claiming them on pack. But my question now is, it's really all about moss and beta-glucans content. So whenever I look into the cell wall products, should I take care just about the percentage inclusion of moss and beta-glucans? Well, the reply is not really. I mean, most beta-glucans are two quite important parameters whenever we think and we include cell wall products in our pet food. But they are not the only parameters and the only things I have to look into it, because yeast derivatives specific properties, it depends from several other parameters. And just to give you an example, the yeast structure and composition, it really play a major role in the efficacy. And the yeast structure and composition, of course, it varies accordingly to the different strains. What is important to remind is that not all the yeast are the same, but each yeast has its own specific composition structure that is strictly linked then to the properties, and we will see it in the coming slide. So if we come back quickly to the table I've shown before, we see that in the yeast fraction, we have the cell wall product rich in moss and beta-glucans that are widely used because of digestive care and immune support claims. But I want to show you that yeast derivatives product can be even more specific and innovative whenever we think about specific association of yeast fractions. So whenever we look much deeper and closer to the yeast cell wall, whenever we have the good knowledge and experience of such a small microorganism and how it works and how it behaves. So for doing that, we need to be expert, as I said, and we need to be able to use cutting edge techniques to really bring the yeast derivatives to the next level. And that's what we did in Lallemand using the next generation technology. And with the next generation technology, I mean the atomic force microscope, which is a simple microscope which is equipped with this, a small case wherever we can look into the yeast cell surface much deeper and closer, so we can really look at the asperity on the cell surface, and we can characterize the different yeast by its own structure and so topography. And together with the atomic force microscope, we can use also the single molecule force spectroscopy, which give us a step further because we have a small tip, and this tip of the microscope is functionalized. It means is equipped with a special compound which is able to bind the yeast wall, mimicking the interaction that occur between the yeast and the cell, or the yeast and the bacterium. So we can really see the interaction of that specific yeast strains with the bacteria or with another cell. So we can really see which are the bond that our specific strain is able to create. So it's a really powerful new tool that enable us to characterize and select specific strain of yeast. And it comes from this next generation of technology that comes the next generation of yeast derivatives. As I said, a functional ingredients need to be research based, and that's the case. It was a three-step R&D project that took Lallemand yeast derivatives to the next level. It was a first step. It was a step of characterization of the different yeast strains out of our big archive of strains, followed by the selection among all those strains of the right one, depending on its effect. And the effect of the yeast strain is depending by genetics, so the specific strain it comes from, and we were able with the spectroscopy to look into it and to choose those that have also the strongest ability to adhere, to bind with the pathogens. But last but and not least, the third step was to apply to each specific strain the right production process, because what we have been able to see is that also the production process is able to affect the efficacy of the yeast derivatives, because the production process is able to has an impact on the structure of the cell wall. Well, that's the way in which has born the product we call YOUNG, which is an yeast association new generation. So it's an association of three specific inactivated yeast strains, two strains of Saccharomyces cerevisiae and one strain of Ciberlindera iadini. And those three strains have been selected through this three-step research project in order to have an innovative product that is the only formulated product on the market of yeast. So it's the only product containing three different strains together. With those three different strains has a different mode of action, but they are complementary whenever they are together, and they have been combined specifically in order to offer superior binding capacity and also a synergistic, broader and well-balanced immune modulation effect. So once we have a research-based functional ingredient, we need to pass to the second step. So we need to show and to be able to show data that truly the product has superior binding capacity and synergistic immunomodulation. And to do that, we need trial that can be in vitro or in vivo. And I want to go through them specifically in dog and cats. As I said, as the first objective of the new generation of yeast derivatives was to have a stronger pathogen binding capacity. We have seen that the binding capacity are somehow linked to the most component of the cell wall product. But in this case, in young, in this association of yeast strains, we have selected specifically the strain in order to have a high prevalence of adhesive polysaccharide patches on the yeast surface. The second big benefit of Yang is to allow a simultaneous activation of several immune receptors in order to give a more balanced immunomodulation rather than a specific immunostimulation as the one given by beta-glucans that are able to activate just one receptor. But we will see it in few slides later. So as I said, we need a trial. Let's start with an in vitro trial with which we have been able to show the superior binding capacity of Yang. In this case, since we wanted to show binding capacity of pathogens, we need this somehow to compare Yang with another product able to bind pathogens. So we have chosen MOS. And we have compared Yang in a concentration that is what we recommend, so 800 gram per ton of pet food, so 0.08% of Yang, versus the recommended dosage of a good quality moss on the market, so 2 kiloton, 0.2%. What we did is we use 5 strains of Escherichia coli isolated from the dog and cat feces at different life stage. It means a puppy, kitten, adult, senior. And those specific strain of Escherichia coli were collected during episode of enteritis, and they were the main and the only causative agent of diarrhea. So we looked into the capacity of Yang versus moss to bind Escherichia coli, pathogen Escherichia coli. And as you can see here, Yang was able to bind around 19% more Escherichia coli compared to a moss, a good premium moss product. So Young at a much lower inclusion, because was 60% less, was able to lead to a significantly higher agglutination of Escherichia coli, which is quite interesting. So we were able really to support the superior binding capacity of Young, which of course are able to help maintain the optimal gut microflora balance, because the agglutination of pathogen is important, because once agglutinated, pathogens first of all are not able to replicate anymore, and then they are flushed out with the feces, so they are excreted by the animal, and it means that I have a reduction of the load of pathogen, and of course it gives more space and a better environment to the beneficial bacteria to grow. Still in the area of digestive care, we have performed another trial, still in vitro, because we wanted somehow to have a standard and well-controlled environment to see how was the behavior of the microbial population in presence of young. So we used a method developed and published by Professor Biagi at the University of Bologna to check the behavior of the microbial population, and more specifically of the beneficial bacteria, in 24 hours. The methodology, it involved 5 flasks containing canine fecal inoculum plus some undigested extruded diet that was previously digested, and in addition to that, young, again in a concentration of 0.08%. If you want to know more about this methodology, it has been published, and you can see here some details, or eventually you can contact us and we will let you have the specific methodology that has been used. Well, what we have seen is that already after 6 hours, and then confirmed again at 24 hours, we had an increase of the total microbial population in the group that was treated with young, And if we look more specifically in the bifidobacterium and in the lactobacillus subspecies, you can see that you have a 6 and then a 24 hours again, an increase of more than 12. So we have 14% more in bifido and 12% more in lactobacillus in the treated young group. So we were really able to show the beneficial stimulation of young in the gut microbiota, and to support that in association with the previous trial I've just shown you, that young is able to maintain an optimal gut microflora balance, and so to support digestive care. The next generation of yeast derivatives I'm talking about, so young, this yeast association, as I said, as a second beneficial aspect, which is the immune support, which is a broader and well-balanced immune modulation thanks to the simultaneous activation of several receptors. Let's take a closer look into this. As I said, there is in young an association of 3 different yeast strains that enable young to activate several immune pathways, several different receptors in the gut. And that's quite interesting and important for the health of the animal, because it avoids any risk of overstimulation and it avoids any risk of inflammation. It is due to the strain combination and, of course, to the multi-receptor activation, and it gives a synergistic effect that we have been able to patent. And that's very important even compared with the beta glucan activation. As we have seen at the beginning, cell wall products are mainly used for the most content with the binding pathogen capacity that we have seen. We have been able to somehow go a step further with young, but also for the content in beta glucans, which are able to stimulate the dectin-1 receptor. But this is a single receptor activation. So there is with beta glucans the activation always of the same receptors, which is well recognized and well shown in several studies that can lead to an overstimulation and a prolonged inflammation, which of course it's not healthy, but it can be detrimental for the animal. Also in this case, we needed some data specifically in dogs to show that the immunomodulation effect expected by young was given in the real world, let's say. So what we did an in vivo trial. This in vivo trial was run in parallel by Professor Biaggi at the University of Bologna, in parallel with the in vitro trial that I have shown you before. And in this in vivo trial, we have used 16 healthy adult dogs. The duration, the trial lasted for 28 days, and the young group has received again 800 grams per ton of pet food versus control group that have received the same diet without any supplementation, but just some placebo, of course. So what we have seen, we have looked into the parameters we checked as being the fecal IgA and the fecal pH. In terms of fecal IgA, we looked into it because we know that the IgA are well recognized, non-invasive biomarker of immunomodulation, and there are some publication available on the measurement of fecal IgA in different species, mouse, humans, dogs. And we know IgA is the most abundant class of antibody in the mucous membranes, and they are quite important in mucosal immunity because they inhibit the attachment and penetration of bacteria in the lumen, but they also increase the mucus secretion and prevent inflammatory reactions that could, of course, cause damage to the epithelial tissues. So we choose IgA as a biomarker to show the immunomodulation of young. And as you can see here, the group of dogs supplemented with young as already at 21 days, but then again at 28 days, more than 50% more fecal IgA compared to the control group. Then we look also at the fecal pH, and we have seen a drop in the fecal pH in the group of dogs supplemented with young. It's important to look at this parameter that is somehow confirming what I've seen in the previous trial in vitro that I have shown you, because the drop in the fecal pH, what is meaning is the reduction of the fecal pH in the colonic luminal, lumen. So somehow we see that the environment is acidic, and an acidic environment inhibit the development of the undesirable bacteria and create a favorable environment for the beneficial bacteria. And as we have seen in vitro, there was in fact an increase of the beneficial, the lactic acid producer bacteria when young is supplemented. So it's absolutely confirming this drop in the pH and this favorable environment for the lactic bacteria, which are the beneficial ones. So with this data, we were able to show and to prove the immunomodulatory capacity and properties of young, which is able to help reinforce pets' natural defenses. So I want to come back to the initial doubt, the initial question: can be an yeast derivatives product, such a wide common product on the market, be seen, be considered, and be included in the pet food as a novel functional ingredient? Can it be really research-based, innovative and different? Can it enable trendy, proven claims? Can be it versatile and stable? Well, after what we have seen, I would say yes, if we focus and if we look into something that is new, such as synergistic alliance of specifically selected inactivated yeast strains. So if we apply new technology and cutting edge technologies to the yeast derivatives, we can really develop innovative products. And that's what we have done with the young. And so we have a 4 years R&D project on the back of young. It's the first formulated yeast on the market of yeast. We have data coming from in vitro and in vivo pet trials that are available, and they are proven the two main aspects of young, so digestive care and immune support with its synergistic effect. And we can ensure that the product is stable through any production process and also during the 16, 18, and 24 months of shelf life of the pet product. So I would say yes, an yeast derivatives product can still be innovative whenever the next generation technology are applied in order to develop something really innovative and differentiating. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any question, please, you can ask me or you can write to my email address. Thank you very much.